Hello everyone. Today for the first time, globally, on a platform like this, so I want to confess how I fell in love with my hair once again. When I was in school, I looked something like this. If you all are guessing who am I, let me make it easier for you. When I was in school, I looked something like this. But ever since, I always had a desire to have real short hair. I was into sports. I played cricket at a national level. I played carom at a national level. And I used to always think, wow, short hair would be so cool. But I didn't know. I didn't know that life would take me to short hair in a way it did. On 27th of November 2007, I did something like this. I went ahead, I got this done. I always wanted to shave off my head, and I went ahead, I did that. And all of y'all who had very little hair, when your hair starts growing back after you shave it off, it looks something like this. And in order to not have my hair all around like a porcupine, I started gelling my hair. And this is where my real story began. One day, when I was just touching and feeling the texture of my hair, I happened to pluck out one of the hair. It happened only once. I thought it's okay. It must be happening to a lot of people. A week passed, 2 weeks passed, 3 weeks passed, a month passed. And after 2 months, when I was studying for my final CA, I'm studying and I don't realize that my hand is in my hair. After 15 minutes, when I look down, everywhere, it's only hair. It's only hair. One day, I told myself that this has to be something. Why not look into Google? I remember that night very clearly. I was wearing my shorts t-shirt, sitting at home. Physiology was down, was not feeling very good about myself. And I looked at it and I typed in plucking hair in Google, and this came out. Trichotillomania. Trick is your hair, tilo is to pull, mania, as you know, is a disorder. It's a rare impulse disorder to pluck your hair. And I thought I was alone, I thought I was really alone. But when I looked into statistics, 2 to 5% of the world's population, that is around 150 to 350 million people all across the globe, go through this every single year. You know what's worse? It read 95% of the people who have trichotillomania never get out of it. My heart broke. I was shattered. At the same time, I was determined. I said, no, nothing doing, I'm going to be amongst that 5% and I'm going to change myself. So I did a lot of things. To give you a little about how I looked. From the front, if you see, my hair would be all proper. But if you come next to me in a side way, it would look something like this. Chartered accountant, working with one of the best MNCs, also a trainer, addressing thousands of people together and having hair like this. I thought I was alone. But when I read up more, I realized that so many people go through it. And I was thinking, then why don't people come up and talk about it? Shameful, guilt, fear, embarrassment. People go to all extents to hide it. And I went too. When I would sit down and my hand would be idle, what I would do is I would tape my fingers. I would tape my fingers so that I don't feel the texture of my hair. I would wear a cap. It went to an extent where my dad told me, for every hair you pluck, I will lose 1 day of my life. I stopped. I stopped for 2 days and I came back. I came back and I thought about how could I come out of trichotillomania. As I was reading further and knowing further, 20% of the people who have trichotillomania are trichophagic. That means they not only pluck their hair, their eyebrows, mustache, hair all over your body, sometimes your pet's hair, and it doesn't stop there, they eat it. And when you eat that hair, It forms a lump, it forms cancer, and people die. People die. And I said, I won't die. I'm not going to do this. To be very honest, I suffered this disorder for 8 long years of my life. And trust me, 8 long growing years of your life is a huge time. Then I decided to do something. I decided to stand one day and I decided I'm going to decode myself. Instead of working on my behavior, why don't I look at what is going on within me? What is this impulse? You know, people bite their nails. Some people blink their eyes when they talk. You know, some people snap. I said, this is one of that, and I should come out of it. So instead of thinking about why I'm doing this behavior, I went to what is my code? Why am I doing this? What is the language which I am using? What am I focusing on? And that came my first thing which I want to ask you today. I want to ask you, do you know which is one of the most used words in English? One of the most recognized words, one of the most understood words in English, and this is the word we use very often. Take a moment, think to yourself, what could be this one word which you use every single day of your life? And that word is the word okay. Do you use it often? Right? Most often than not, we use it to tell people if they ask us, can I do this, can I do that? And you say, okay. But my trouble comes not when people ask you. Not when people ask you, okay. When people ask you, how are you feeling? And you say, okay. People ask you, how is your life going? And you say, okay. How is your relationship going? And you say, okay. Now say okay once again and tell me, what emotion do you feel? What emotion do you feel when you say the word okay? Do you feel happy? Do you feel excited? Do you feel enthusiastic? Or do you feel sad? Do you feel compromised? Do you feel sacrificed? And I realized I used to say, it's okay. It's okay that I pluck my hair. In fact, you know, you get very defensive. And I used to tell people, all geniuses had a problem. I have one. And I realized this is such bad use of language to my own self. I thought it's hair, it's okay, it will grow back. And that came to the next point. Every time you say okay to yourself, you are in your comfort zone. You're in your comfort zone where you don't want to take any action because you've already told yourself it's okay to have unsatisfying careers. It's okay to have incomplete dreams. It's okay to have relations which have no soul, no love, no empathy. I didn't change. I didn't change the day I stopped plucking my hair. I changed the day I stopped being okay with not being okay. When I stood up to myself and I said, I am not here to live a life which is mediocre. I am not here to live a life which is average. I am here to make a difference. I was having a very handsome salary, earning really well, working with a global giant. But when I used to come back home, I had no personal fulfillment. I quit my job to become perhaps the world's first chartered accountant turned happiness coach. I started working with people to understand what is their code like. I started working with people to understand if I could help them and assist them change the language in which they talk to themselves, make them aware of the words they use for themselves, make them aware that everyone is capable enough to achieve whatever they want to, life would be a better place. And people often ask me, Varsha, you think you did it because you had the determination. And I tell people, I didn't do it because I had the determination. I did it because I decoded myself. And this is what I do today. I have worked with more than 15,000 people in the last 2 years to help them and support them to decode themselves, to understand and identify what drives them to do what they do, to identify how can they stop being okay with not being okay. And people often ask me, if we stop being okay, what should we be? What should we do? And I always tell them, Life has given you a choice. Be awesome. When people ask you, how are you? Say, I'm awesome, even if you are not, because that will force you to raise your life to where it deserves. Do you agree with me? Yes? And I have one more thing which I really want to stand here and share with you. I lost my dad 3 years ago. And I think that is the most painful thing I ever went through. Once, when I was walking back from office, I met a girl and she would always talk to her dad. And she kept talking to her dad. And I used to tell myself, it's not okay. It's not fair that I lost my dad and people can here talk to their fathers. And that's the day when I was talking to her, she told me, yeah, my dad is very protective about me because I lost my mom when I was in the 6th standard. And I felt so bad. And that's the day I decided that I'm going to bless everyone who comes across, because everyone is coded differently. Everyone's journey is coded differently. And I am sure that if each one of us today can stop being okay with not being okay, we can all be one thing, and that is be awesome. So all I want you to do right now is look to your neighbor and say, be awesome. Look to your other neighbor and say, be awesome. And say it with conviction. Look to people behind you and say, be awesome. And can you now, all my dear friends, as I come to the end of my talk, look at me and say, be awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you very much.